A little low.
We're friendly.
So get the fuck out of here, bro.
Okay, we're leaving.
We're just passing through.
Okay, can
Is it cool?
go. Yeah,
Are we friends? I'm sorry.
I can call you taxis, bro.
Call his.
You can just go another raid, bro. I see you, bro.
Hi.
Yeah, we'll go. Bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. So far, our way of diplomacy in the squad is working out.
Yes. Hello, Internet. Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, here from MMOBomb.com, bringing you another episode of Gameplay Action. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Cycle Frontier, the revamped version of the original Cycle by the team at Yager. Now, you might remember the free-to-play kind of battle royale-ish The Cycle back in 2019-ish when it launched its first competitive season. And although the game technically never left beta, quote, beta, it did have 3.5 seasons of competitive action for those of you keeping score, before the team at Yager decided to make some fundamental changes to the gameplay in about May of 2021 and picked up with some closed beta testing later that year when it actually shut down the original The Cycle servers in October of 2021. Now, fast forward, and we're here taking a look at a closed beta for the revamped version, the Cycle Frontier. And now we get to see all of the work that's been going into it, and if it's for the better or for the worse. If you like this type of content, make sure you click subscribe, click like, give us a comment down below letting us know what you think of the Cycle Frontier. And let's get right to it. This past week, I had the absolute pleasure to sit down with Dan Banefelt, the creative director, and Chris Sykora, the producer of the Cycle over at Yager, and jump into the game a little bit and get our feet wet. Now, for a little refresher for those of you that maybe didn't play the Cycle when it was available only on the Epic Game Store, remember they never made it to the the planned Steam release with COVID-19 and everything. That ended up getting delayed. However, the Cycle Frontier can be played when you are in beta testing and at launch, both on Steam and on the Epic Game Store on the PC. It was kind of like a squad-based battle royale. You jump down to the planet of Fortuna and would complete objectives, PvE objectives for the most part on the planet, whether that be powering up a station or killing certain amounts of monsters or farming gas and minerals, and earn points while you were there with your squad. A storm would slowly close in until all teams were forced to evacuate, and the only PvP portion would happen if you bumped up against another squad or another player. They also gave you the ability to kind of squad up on the fly on the planet. So if you were queued by yourself and you ran across somebody else that was by themselves, instead of fighting and shooting each other, you could opt to team up with the option to later betray your teammate, also being an interesting mechanic. Predominantly, it was a PvE experience with a smattering of PvP thrown in when you did come across other players. But all in all, at the end, it was a battle royale. You were just farming points instead of killing players and trying to be the last person to survive. If multiple teams were able to evac from the storm, the team with the most points, aka the most objectives completed or the most players killed, counting for some points as well, would end up winning even if multiple teams evac'd. When we jump forward now and we look at the Cycle Frontier, there's going to be a lot of things that the Cycle players will like and be familiar with, and then the new additions come on top of that. Will they enhance the audience? When I had a chance to talk to the team, they said it actually did. Apparently, the Cycle, the original, wasn't doing well enough for longevity. Yager would not have been able to keep making games with the player base they've had, so a revamp was needed. And I did ask the team about concerns. You know, we saw Crucible launch, go back into beta, cut different modes, and then eventually just collapse and disappear. Were there concerns when the Cycle team realized we kind of have to do the same thing. We've never technically come out of beta, and Jason Winter and I did poke a little fun at that fact. Having 3.5 competitive seasons while still being in beta is a little weird, but they did have to eventually just pull the game back. And now you end up with a game that's quite a bit different. Quite a bit different. Now, the team at Yager did tell me, Dan and Chris said, we've had tremendous feedback and a much, much happier player base on this new model. Hopefully for them, that translates into a bigger player base. Obviously, a launch on Steam will help that as well. But longevity, I hope these changes will help the team out, because there's still something that I like about the Cycle Frontier, even though it's transitioned into a game that may not exactly be my personal 100% cup of tea. Starting off with one of the biggest changes to the Cycle Frontier, it is no longer match-based. There are 3 words in my mind that best sum up the Cycle Frontier, and that is persistence, progression, and consequence. Looking at the way matches work now, there are no, quote, matches. You can literally jump down to Fortuna, the planet, and explore at will. You won't have to wait in a lobby for a certain number of players to queue up and trigger the match. You can jump down to the planet, accomplish the objectives that you are interested in accomplishing, make it to one of your pre-designated evac spots on the map, and leave. All the while, everybody else is doing whatever the hell they want to do on the planet at the same time. This means there is a bit of a persistent world going on below you. Now, they are instance-based, and they only support a certain number of players per instance, so sometimes you might be dropped onto an instance of Fortuna along with a bunch of other people being dropped in at the same time, but often you'll find that there could be 5 players on the map, there could be 10 players already on the map when you get there, and when you leave, there could be 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, it doesn't matter. Everybody's coming and going as they will. So it's all about this persistent world and your progression in it. And your progression is determined by the quests you get back at the main hub from the 3 different factions that have been there since the original cycle. It's all about farming different materials, killing different monsters, visit different places on the map, of which in closed beta there were only 2, but there are more planned. So it's all about your personal progression. How many of these quests can you complete? How many of these rewards can you get? How many of X material can you farm up on the planet and make it out with, so that you can use those materials to either craft, complete objectives for quests, or take them to your personal quarters, which is another big new addition to the game. PvP does rear its head for those of you that do like this type of content. Again, it works the same way in that if you run across other players, you could certainly run from them. You could certainly engage in combat, but the inclusion of proximity push-to-talk also, as you saw in our little introduction, does give you the option for maybe a little diplomacy. Maybe you don't want to team up. Maybe you don't want to fight. You just want to break apart and go your separate ways and agree not to shoot each other. Now, whether or not you get betrayed is a totally different story, but it is a nice little addition to the entire game that does give you that chance of maybe talking your way out of a sticky situation when you're outmanned, outgunned, and just generally in a bad position. Now, on the PvE side of things, we've already talked about whether you're doing quests for the various factions to farm up materials, but if you were original The Cycle player, you're going to be delighted to know that many of the objectives that used to be in The Cycle have been repurposed and are still in the game themselves. You used to have to do things like powering up a station by visiting a couple different points in a location on the map, interacting with an object there, and then powering up, say, an engine. Now, those items are still there, but they don't award you with points anymore. They may open a secret vault where there's enhanced loot, or they may open up alternate paths to get from one location to another on the map. So where it makes sense, the team at Yager has taken some of those objectives and just kind of repurposed them. The storm is also still a thing, and while in the original cycle it was certainly used to just funnel everybody to a smaller area until the evac ship came down at the end of the match, now it is just more of an annoyance. You can survive in the storm, you will take damage, it will obstruct your vision, and have other consequences, but it doesn't serve the same function anymore. It's not a closing ring around the map, it just is possible to be stormed on and take damage because of that. Now here's where the big difference comes in when we talk about the Cycle Frontier versus the Cycle. And that is our third of the 3 keywords I gave you, and that's consequence. When you die on Fortuna in the Cycle Frontier, you lose everything you are carrying. Weapons, armor, backpack, consumables, materials you farmed while you are on the planet, all of that is gone. Now, there is a portion of your inventory that is designated for as a safe spot, but it's very, very limited at the beginning in how much you can actually put in there. In some cases, due to weight restrictions, you might not even be able to bank in this safe spot of your inventory the materials for a particular quest. You might need to turn in 3, but the weight requirements of the safe box only let you bank 2. You can, if you die on the planet, you will get to take these items with you, but everything else in your inventory is gone and can be looted by other players. And this is where we get to our first kind of, controversy when it comes to the cycle. And that is the ability to purchase insurance and to purchase what they call salvage. Now, the first of these 2 options isn't exactly anything controversial, and that is the insurance aspect of things. K-Marks is the in-game currency that you will farm up through general gameplay, completing quests, or selling materials or items that you have no longer a need of. That's not too bad. You purchase insurance, and then if you die, you'll get some percentage of the value of the items that you lost on the planet back in K-Marks. So it works, a lot like real life insurance. When you spend the K-Marks to insure the items that you are carrying and you die and you get a portion of those K-Marks back, it feels really great. When you spend K-Marks and you don't die, you make it to extraction, then it feels like an expensive K-Marks that you didn't need because you didn't take advantage of it. The other side is called salvage, and this is done through one currency and one, let's say, consumable. The first is Aurum, which is the cash shop currency. The second are salvage tokens. What salvage allows you to do is actually reclaim the items themselves when you die. Not a K-Marks percentage value, but the actual items, unless you are looted when you die, in which case you will receive a percentage compensation. Now, the kind of controversial point here, or debatable point here, is the fact that you can shell out real-life money to make sure you have enough Aurum to go ahead and mark your full inventory or just your important items for salvage, and then you never have to worry about the consequence again. And when I chatted with the team about this exact thing, I was told by both Dan and Chris that, hey, we know that that's a little bit of a controversy, but we want people to see how this works. Because I mentioned the quarters at the beginning, or towards the beginning of this gameplay action. Your quarters is your own designated little hideaway, your own housing, if you will. And you can, through farming up materials, upgrade certain aspects of your quarters, including the ability to actually produce K-Marks and Aurum, the cash shop currency, even while you are logged out of the game. And by upgrading all of these different features of your quarters, you can farm the cash shop currency literally just over time. In addition to that, the game will have a battle pass. It was not available during our closed beta opportunities here, but the game will feature a battle pass, both a free and a paid one, and traditionally, as is, everywhere else, will have a number of various cosmetics and things like that. But you can also get not only Aurum, the cash shop currency, but you can also get these salvage tokens, which all they can be used for is the occasional free marking of something for salvage so that you don't have to spend Aurum to do it. So, yeah, occasionally you'll get a freebie, one of these, so that you can bring back your gear when you die, again, provided you are not looted. Now, the team did say that this should be, one, a nice way for those of you that want to buy the Battle Pass with Aurum to then use the Battle Pass and your quarters to farm up more Aurum to buy the next Battle Pass and never have to pay cash. Obviously, that will involve farming, and more importantly, you're probably not going to have much spare Aurum to use for different cosmetic items and things like that, since you'll be funneling money into each and every Battle Pass as they come. But if you're not interested in buying the Battle Pass, you could certainly use your quarters farmed Aurum to go ahead and mark items for salvage instead of, again, paying outright for cash. This is going to be a really delicate balance that Yager needs to get right, in my opinion. They're going to have to find that balance between grind enough that you got to earn it, but not so grindy that it pushes you to feel like you have to buy Aurum, or you're just losing your weapons, losing your armor, losing your backpacks, and constantly running low on materials. Now, the game does also counterbalance this a little bit by funneling different login bonuses, or in your quarters, there's a daily claim thing that give you basic ammo, basic weapons, basic armor, with the occasional upgraded piece in there randomly as well. So you do have this kind of little bit of a steady flow of basic materials, so you really shouldn't ever run totally out of weapons and ammo and backpacks, but it could happen if you were super aggressive on the planet and weren't really paying attention. All in all, it's an interesting take. I found myself enjoying it more than I thought I would while I was playing with the dev team. It's still, just like the original The Cycle, it's still really one that is very, very enjoyable with friends. You find yourself getting owned an awful lot if you're by yourself, particularly starting out. I would obviously stay on the beginner map because the hard mode map, or the more difficult of the two maps that was available in the closed beta, had people that were just so far out gearing basic players that you didn't stand a chance. So yeah, there's some good and bad. I actually like the idea of, a persistent world. You're constantly doing progression on your character. Hell, you could even evac on someone else's ship if you wanted to. You have dedicated evac spots to get to, and you can evac at any time. But if somebody's nice enough, like the person at the beginning of the video, to offer to call us a taxi, you can evac on someone else's ship as well. I do like this kind of, I don't have to wait for anything. What am I trying to do to advance my character, my quarters, my gear? Let me go and try and do that. Oh no, I died. Let me try again. Okay, I did it. Awesome. Let's move on to the next objective. But I don't know if the consequences are really all that fun for me personally. I'm not somebody that's really, really good at first-person shooters to begin with, so I'm already kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to that type of stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see how the balance shakes out. Closed betas are going to continue for a little while, so if you want to try and get in, obviously head on over to the Cycle Frontiers website and sign up. I hope you've enjoyed just this little brief glimpse at where the Cycle Frontier is headed. I want to thank the team at Yager, Dan and Chris, for spending some time with me and answering some of my questions. And we'll wait and see when we recycle around and do our updated first look on the Cycle Frontier if the team at Yager has nailed the balance. Until next time, gang, this is Mike Byrne from MMORPG.com saying stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.